Have you ever pondered why one of history's most illustrious generals, Napoleon Bonaparte, chose to make his stand at a seemingly insignificant Belgian town called Waterloo? Let's wind back the clock to the early 19th century. Napoleon, fresh from his first stint in exile vacations on the island of Elba, staged a comeback that would have made any modern-day celebrity green with envy. This period, known as the 100 Days, saw Napoleon return to power with a vigor that stunned Europe. But why Waterloo, you ask? Well, Napoleon was always one to appreciate a good stage for his dramatic endeavors. The strategic location of Waterloo, with its series of ridges and a road network connecting Brussels and Charleroi, offered Bonaparte a tantalizing opportunity. He could separate the allied British and Prussian armies, defeat them individually, and strut back into Paris like the prodigal son returning home. However, our dear Napoleon wasn't just playing a game of risk here, he had more on his mind. He hoped to draw the Duke of Wellington's forces into battle, confident that he could outmaneuver and defeat them. The plan on paper was brilliant. It was like a game of chess where Napoleon had already planned his checkmate in 3 moves. Yet as we all know, even the best-laid plans of mice and men often go awry, and Napoleon was about to learn this the hard way. The weather, the terrain, the tenacity of the British and the Prussian reinforcements all combined to create a perfect storm that even the mighty Napoleon couldn't weather. In hindsight, choosing Waterloo might seem like a fool's errand, but remember, this is Napoleon we're talking about. A man who, up until then, had defied odds, rewritten rules, and danced on the ashes of his enemies. Napoleon, a master of warfare, had his reasons for selecting Waterloo, but was this decision a stroke of genius or a fatal miscalculation? As we peel back the layers of this historical onion, we'll find that the answer is not as clear-cut as it seems. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this enigmatic chapter of history. As dawn broke on June 18, 1815, 2 formidable armies stood facing each other, their destinies intertwined on the fields of Waterloo. The tension was as thick as pea soup, and the air was electric with anticipation. On one side there was Napoleon, the once exiled emperor, who had returned for one final roll of the dice. He was a man of grand ambitions and grander strategies, always seeking the upper hand. He planned to divide and conquer, hoping to separate the British troops under Wellington from their Prussian allies led by Blücher. Opposite him, the Duke of Wellington, a man known for his cool head and even cooler strategies, was ready with his multinational force. He'd chosen his ground carefully, positioning his troops behind a ridge for protection. His plan was simple: hold the line and wait for the Prussians. And then, there was Blücher, the seasoned Prussian field marshal. His strategy was to meet up with Wellington's forces, and together, they would encircle Napoleon's troops. But he had to get there first, and the clock was ticking. These opening maneuvers set the stage for what would become one of the most famous battles in history. A game of chess played out on a grand scale, with the players poised and the pieces in place. The opening moves had been made, the strategies laid bare, the Battle of Waterloo had begun. As the day wore on, the battle raged fiercely, but could Napoleon have turned the tide in his favor? In the heat of battle, even the smallest miscalculation can have monumental consequences. Now, let's dive into the critical turning points of the Battle of Waterloo. Picture this: Napoleon, confident as ever, is ready to crush his opponents. Little did he know, the tables were about to turn. Let's start with the unexpected arrival of the Prussian reinforcements. Napoleon, like a poker player with a bad hand, thought he had the upper hand. But the Prussians, led by Field Marshal Gebhard von Blücher, came in like an unexpected trump card, boosting the morale of the Allies and tipping the scales against Napoleon. Then there were the French cavalry's failed charges. Imagine a group of overly enthusiastic kids running towards an ice cream truck, only to find out that it's sold out. That's how the French cavalry must have felt. They charged, and charged, and charged again, but the British infantry stood firm. Their resilience was like a brick wall that the French cavalry just couldn't break through. Speaking of resilience, let's talk about the British infantry. They were like the ultimate underdogs, outnumbered and outgunned, but they never backed down. Their determination was the stuff of legends, making them the true heroes of Waterloo. But let's not forget the role of the weather. Napoleon's artillery, which was supposed to rain down destruction on his enemies, was severely impacted by the muddy terrain caused by the previous night's rain. It's almost as if Mother Nature herself was rooting for the Allies. And then there was Napoleon's underestimation of his opponents. He thought he was playing chess with amateurs, but he was, in fact, up against grandmasters. His overconfidence was his downfall. It's like going into a cooking contest thinking you're up against amateurs, only to find out that your opponents are Michelin star chefs. As the sun set on Waterloo, it also set on Napoleon's ambitions. But what were the key takeaways from this historical encounter? Waterloo wasn't just a defeat, it was the end of an era. The immediate aftermath of the battle led to Napoleon Bonaparte's second exile, this time to the remote island of St. Helena, where he would spend the remainder of his days. Europe's political landscape was dramatically reshaped, with the Congress of Vienna establishing a new balance of power that would remain largely unchallenged until the onset of the First World War nearly a century later. But the ripple effects of Waterloo extended far beyond the immediate political and military consequences. The defeat of Napoleon, a man who had once seemed invincible, served as a stark reminder of the capricious nature of warfare and the limits of individual ambition. It underscored the importance of strategic foresight, of understanding not just the lay of the land, but the potential implications of each decision made on the battlefield. The lessons learned from Waterloo continue to resonate today. Military strategists study the battle for insights into tactics and strategy, while historians ponder its significance in the broader sweep of global events. Waterloo has even permeated popular culture, becoming a metaphor for decisive defeat and a symbol of the futility of war. Waterloo remains a testament to the unpredictability of warfare and the importance of strategic foresight. In the end, it wasn't just a battle, it was a pivotal moment that shaped the course of history.